If you're prepping for the CPB exam, you already know the hardest part isn't just remembering stuff, it's making the right call when it really matters. And trust me, the stakes are sky high. Today, we're going to show you how to start thinking like a real pro.
And no, that's not just to scare you. In healthcare, trust is the currency, right? One little breach, and poof, it's gone. And your career could go with it.
And it's not just about getting paid. A billing error? That's basically sending up a giant red flag, begging auditors to come dig through everything you've ever done.
So you gotta understand, this is the absolute foundation. These aren't suggestions. They're not best practices. They're enforceable standards with very real, very serious consequences if you mess up.
Okay, so with all that pressure, how in the world are you supposed to prepare? Well, that's what we're here for. We're going to give you a quick, strategic look at how we, at Exam Coaches, train you to think like a certified professional biller.
All right, first, let's get real about the big challenge here. Why do so many smart, hardworking people struggle with this part of the exam? It really boils down to a few key pitfalls.
You know, it's super easy to think HIPAA is just about don't talk about patient stuff, but it's so much deeper. So many people underestimate what a data breach actually means, and they treat compliance like it's some theoretical thing from a book. Well, the CPB exam is literally designed to test you on exactly these weak spots.
And this right here, this is the most important thing you'll hear today. Most people just try to memorize the rules. But the CPA exam, it's not testing your memory, it's testing your judgment.
And look, if you don't believe me, just look at the exam breakdown. 25 questions out of 200. That is a massive part of your final score, all dedicated to billing regulations. You're just not going to pass that with flashcards alone. No way.
So, if cramming rules isn't going to cut it, what will? You need a system, a framework for thinking through these complex situations every single time. And that's exactly what we're going to show you a piece of right now.
Okay, let's look at a classic HIPAA scenario you might see. A staff member accesses a patient's record, but they don't have a direct billing reason to be in there. Simple question, is it allowed? Seems easy, right? But the exam is looking for how you get to the answer.
So instead of just guessing, our framework gives you a step-by-step process. Step 1. What kind of information is this? Is it protected health information, PHI? Of course it is. Okay, that immediately leads to step 2. You have to apply the minimum necessary standard. Basically, does this person absolutely need this info to do their job?
Now, the answer here is a big, fat no. But the exam doesn't want a yes or no. It wants the why. And the rest of that analysis, the full-blown rationale and exactly what could happen if you get this wrong, that's all waiting for you inside the complete framework.
Let's do another one, this time on the compliance side. So a provider bills for services that weren't fully documented. Now what? Is this just an error, is it abuse, or is it flat-out fraud? Getting this right is absolutely critical.
So our thinking process kicks in. Step 1, check for consistency. Does the documentation actually match what was built? In this case, nope. That pushes us to the million-dollar question. What was the intent? Was this an honest mistake, a pattern of being careless, or did they do it on purpose? And look, calling it fraud versus an error, those are two completely different worlds with totally different consequences. Mastering that distinction is a non-negotiable skill. And yep, you guessed it, the entire breakdown of how to analyze intent is right inside the program.
Okay, so here's where it all comes together. What's so cool is that these two things, HIPAA and billing compliance, they aren't two separate topics you have to learn, they're actually connected.
Think about it like this. HIPAA is all about protecting the patient's information. Billing compliance? That's about protecting the integrity of the whole healthcare system. One protects the person, the other protects the process. But they both boil down to the exact same thing, trust.
And that right there is how we approach this at Exam Coaches. For us, these aren't just a bunch of separate rules to memorize. They all come together to form one single unified standard for how to be an ethical and legal biller.
So what are we really promising here? It's about getting you past just knowing the rules. It's about turning you into someone who has true professional competence. Look, Exam Coaches doesn't just teach you regulations. We train your awareness so you see compliance issues before they become disasters. We train your ethical judgment so you always make the right call. And we train you for real-world accountability.
Because at the end of the day, passing the CPB exam isn't about proving you can recite a rulebook. It's about proving you can apply those rules correctly, under pressure, to real compliance standards.
What you saw today, that was just a little preview.
The full framework, the system that's going to give you the confidence you need, it's all inside.